Welcome back to Forbidden Knowledge News. I'm Chris Matthew. I'm very happy to be here with lecturer, author, hieroglyphics expert, tour guide, Mohammed Ibrahim. How you doing today?
Hi, Chris. I'm very good.
Good, good. Your presentation was fascinating. How are you
Mhm.
enjoying the conference so far?
Yes, I can see very good setup, and the people made great effort. So far, I'm enjoying the conference, and I enjoyed my lecture itself.
Yes, I did too.
Yes.
That was great.
Okay. So yes, truly, I feel this conference is. I have been in some few conferences before, but this is my best. This is in every level. Yes, I see it as it's a very professional level.
Yes.
Mhm.
Now, you discussed the dynastic,
Mhm.
pre-dynastic, and then lost civilization,
Yes.
which modern day academia really doesn't like to talk about
Mhm.
or acknowledge.
Yes.
Could you talk a little bit about those three periods? Basically, just a brief description of the difference between the dynastic and pre-dynastic
Mhm.
Egypt.
Okay, the difference between the pre-dynastic and the dynastic is very clear because pre-dynastic are considered the primitive people who were developed a little bit and then they became dynasties. So the pre-dynastic, we can see all their work was very simple, like their tombs, just a bit under the ground, 1 meter maximum under the ground, covered with sand or covered with small pieces of stones. Their tools were very simple from stones, from flint, from dolerite stones. And they maybe didn't even do such tools. They collected those tools from the ground, which they were looking for some stones with a blade shape, with a sharp edge. So they collected those things. Their art was very simple. Most of their products were from pottery jars. Okay, some rare cases from ivory. So it is easily to identify the pre-dynastic. But when it comes to dynasties, we can see that they started from a poor level of knowledge and of technology, and they started to develop slowly until they reached what we call it New Kingdom, with the highest levels of development, and they could do sophisticated things, and they could do very high quality products from different types of stones and metal also. So that is the main difference between pre-dynastic and dynasties.
And when you were talking about some of the artifacts and pottery found from the pre-dynastic period, and it depicts pyramids,
Mhm.
which weren't supposed to be around at that time, right?
Exactly. And as I always love to say that when they explain what are these triangle shapes on their pottery jars or in their art, they say they are this surrounded environment, the surrounding
Mountains.
mountains.
Yeah.
No, we don't have such mountains in Egypt at all. And I can tell you, my friend, I drove all the way from north to south, from east to west. Okay, I'm talking from a level of great knowledge about my own country. So we don't have such mountains. And even if I say we have one or two maximum, it is in Sinai, which considered as a remote part for the people in the valley. You know that almost 90% of the Egyptians know the word Sinai, but they never visited Sinai. Okay, so they are not aware that there is such kind of mountains in Sinai. So the same for the ancient Egyptians, the same for the pre-dynastic people. Sinai was always considered as remote location from the valley. So claiming that those designs of triangles are mountains, that is out of logic. They must be pyramids.
Also, a lot of the artifacts and pottery found were used, were made using very advanced techniques as well,
Mhm.
right?
Exactly, because we will look for many levels and aspects. We will look for the size of the block they cut.
Mhm.
Okay, we will look for because that the size is creating so many challenges, not just one challenge. The first challenge is from where they're gonna get this piece, which part of the quarry. It is the east side, the north side, the middle, or under the quarry, okay? And most of the cases will be under the quarry, from under the ground. And the second challenge, how they're gonna take this piece out of the quarry. And the third challenge, how they're gonna send this piece to the final destination, either Luxor or Cairo or even Alexandria. And then the later challenge, how they're gonna carve this piece. If we are talking about rose granite, it is one of the hardest materials. We have a scale of solidness, we call it MOHS, Mohs scale. 1 and 10, 10 is diamond. So rose granite is 7, my friend, in that scale, 7. Okay, so just 2 levels behind diamond.
Wow.
So what kind of tool they are going to use to cut and to smooth and to do the very fine details of the edges and of the muscles. So every level in this job is great challenge, not for the ancient people, for the modern technology, for our modern technology. Okay, so that is the,
So, if you had to speculate, what do you think they were using to make these precise cuts that you saw?
okay. Look, number one, they must use. We were thinking one day that they had laser technology. Okay, until I asked this question to Christopher Dunn, and because he is a very knowledgeable man in this field, he told me no, laser is not effective on stone. On metal, it is much better. And okay, so it could be ultrasonic, which I agree that, and we have evidences for this because we found, and I must say and repeat all the time, we didn't find any tool, but we found the mark of the tool. We found the effect of the tool. And I use weird example in homicide cases. When the doctor come and check the body, he will say he was killed by 9mm gun, or he was killed by a knife, or killed, and they will say that the killer was right-handed or left-handed. There are some marks so they can understand what was the tool. The same thing in our field. When we look to the mark, we look to the cut, we can say this happened by chisel, this happened by a power tool, and that power tool was a tube drill, or was a blade, or was a vertical saw, or was circular saw. Every mark is indicating the tool. Okay, the ancient Egyptians were using ultrasonic, and they were using diamond blades, or something better. Okay, and not only this, but also the technique of the machine itself is not like our technique, because with the bigger machines we use a kind of cooling system running water, but it seems that they have small machines can do this also, cooling system, but it must be something else, not water, because as I explained, when they made the ear and sometimes they make the nose and the lips, they need very small machine, like a finger size, or smaller, and that kind of blade is going to be very thin. So if it touches any crystal, it could crack, okay, be broken. So they must have maybe different metal. We don't know. Harder than iron, harder than steel.
Wow.
That is the only case.
Wow, that's fascinating. You also showed a picture of what modern academia calls just a sculpture, I believe, of a flower. But you said it could have been an anti-gravity device.
Yes.
Yes, talk about that. That's fascinating.
Okay, that is what we call it, the disc chest. And it is a circular piece with like a fan, okay? And like our modern fans, but the edges are like folded or bending in a strange way. So I always talk in 2 levels about this piece. The first level is the design itself is complicated design, and it must be done with, again, advanced tool. And then the design itself. What is this kind of design? That design, some people could explain it in a very simple way, which I don't agree with, but I must say what happened. They say this is how they make the rope together, like 3 strings, and they will meet in the middle, and this will rotate like a fan.
I liked your presentation.
Okay. Thank you, my friend. and will make the rope, you know, that I don't know how to call it, like above each other. That shape of the rope.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So these are just opinions. We never saw any presentations because this is always our target. If you have an opinion, show me. Okay. If you claim that this is the function, show me. But they never did. Okay. But the opposite from our side, we show them, like Christopher done in one of the shows, brought a piece of granite and a copper chisel. It was live. And he put the copper chisel above the edge of granite and he started hitting the chisel with the hammer. And then he showed the blade to the audience. The granite cut the chisel.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so this is a presentation, live presentation, to show that this idea is not right. Okay, so what we think about that the ancient Egyptians, in order to carry those massive size of stones, and we are starting from 10 tons, 20 tons, 50 tons, 70, 100, 300, 700, 1,000. That is crazy work. And if you remember again, I was saying that some of the pieces from under the ground. So they must take it out and then out of the quarry itself, and then they send it to somewhere to be transported. Okay. So the only solution is anti-gravity. If we even use our technology cranes, we need super giant cranes to do this.
Yes.
And we will not need one. We will need, let's say, the whole way to the final destination, we need cranes. Okay. So in this case, we are using logic. We maybe also, we cannot present our stories, but we ask the other group to present or to show us a way how they can push a block weighing 1,000 tons to Cairo or to Luxor. Okay, no way. I forgot to add one of the pictures that there was a huge truck. That truck was another truck attached to it. Okay, carrying 4 blocks, a small size like the table size.
Mm-hmm.
So that huge truck just for 4 blocks. And also in the highways, if you drive one day in Cairo or ride a bus, in the highways, you're going to see some scattered granite blocks on the side of the road. And you will ask, like, why? Okay. I was told that a car made an accident and those blocks fall over, but the cost to send another car and another machine to lift those blocks and to send it back to the factory, it is more than it worth. Okay, so imagine this. So they left those blocks on the side of the road because the cost here it's too high. So what about the cost of cutting an obelisk and making an obelisk and sending an obelisk from Aswan to Luxor?
Yeah.
700 tons. That cost will be billions of dollars in this case. Okay, so that is the main difference between the academic stories and our stories. That they don't present anything, we present almost our things, or we use logic. So logic is leading us that there was anti-gravity knowledge in ancient Egypt, and that piece, because that piece is unique, it wasn't repeated in any other type of art. We have maybe hundreds or tens of pieces repeated. Some pieces repeated thousands of times, some pieces repeated tens, hundreds. That piece is unique, it wasn't repeated. So it means that piece is very important. Okay, so our guessing, it is anti-gravity. And there is one on my Facebook list of friends.
Mhm.
I like say sorry to him, I forgot his name. He created a machine using this fan made from copper. And he says that it creates a kind of a small or weak field of anti-gravity. Because as if you focus, it's the same like the fan, it creates like wind, okay? So also you focus the waves. And according to science, the anti-gravity field can be weakened or how do you call it, turn it off with sound waves. Okay, so this shape for sure it creates sound waves. Okay, so that is my story about it.
That's amazing. Now, when it comes to the age of the lost civilizations, you showed a footprint that was estimated to be 1 million years
Yes.
old.
Mhm.
Do you think that some of these advanced civilizations could have gone back that far?
Yes. My opinion, and that is my own opinion based on some evidences, that the first human is the golden age. We didn't develop. No, the first human, Adam, was super knowledgeable. He knows everything. He was 100% smart person. Uh, According to some scientific opinions, our brain power, the smartest one we have is using 13% of the brain power. Okay. So what happened to the 87%? Okay. So many humans suddenly can get a gift like telepathic, like they can move things, like supernatural things. Okay. That is not something unique with this person. No, we all have the same abilities. We all are Superman. Okay, but something can activate a kind of sense in you, but not me. Okay, like we are all, in my opinion, we are all great musicians. But this musician, who is already a good musician, he knows it is active in his case. It's not active in mine. Okay, other senses is active for me, but for you that is the case. So we are not enjoying 100% of our brain power. So what happened? We lost it, but we used to have it. So the early humans used to practice 100% of brain power, which means that they didn't use any physical elements. They could deal with each other with their brain power. So the curve was going down. And after every disaster, they had to hide under the ground to be disconnected with the sun. And this is the key. This is the secret. To be disconnected with the sun, and they start born and have children. They don't see the sun, and then they have grandchildren. They don't. So the pineal gland need the sun.
The sun is activating.
Exactly.
Yes.
Okay. So we this lose. I don't know this true or correct the number 5% or 10% or I don't know how much, but we lose percent and disaster after the other. So when the disaster ends, they go back to the surface. They connect with the sun. So they lose, let's say 10%, but they get only two. Okay. And then with the other disasters, the same like this. So now we are enjoying just 13, and the smartest one, 13%. So we are devolving, we are not evolving.
Do you think that we will reach a point where we actually start to evolve our consciousness?
According to the ancient Egyptian philosophy, we have the 5 cycles of the sun, Kibr, the dawn time, the scarab, and then Ra, the morning before noon. This is the powerful teenager level. And then Atom, the noon, the powerful person and the wise in the same time. And then Atun was in the extreme power, but also extreme ego. And then Amun-Ra. Amun-Ra is the sunset. Atun is the afternoon, and Amun-Ra is the sunset till the sunrise. Dark, ignorant, all the act of selfish humans and controlling manipulations, everything. So we finished this cycle, that cycle of darkness. And according to the Mayan calendar, 2012, end of humans, no, it was the end of that cycle. So since 2012, we are in the beginning of the cycle of Kibr, new beginning, dawn time. That's why all the problems in Middle East and some kind of wars and some protests in some places. That is because our awareness is getting higher and our consciousness. So I can tell you within 10, 20 years maximum, we will be different.
That's amazing.
Because that is the cycle. We will get deeper in the cycle of Kibr, the new beginning.
Very cool. Now I have one more question for you. Do you think that modern day academia will ever come around to what independent researchers like yourself are finding out about these ancient advanced civilizations?
Look, I don't think so, because there is two main things we need and we may discover, and they don't want this to happen. Maybe not them, but some other groups behind them, is healing and power. So we know for sure that the ancient Egyptian sites, especially pyramids and temples, were power plants and healing centers. So imagine if we could activate this. So you don't need to pay for electricity anymore. You're going to have free energy. And that energy is clean energy. And it is continuous energy. And imagine if we could activate the temple. You go to the temple, you come out perfect human, no diseases, no sickness. You don't need to buy any chemicals or to go to do operations or surgeries. Okay? So they don't want us
It's a
to have
threat to
this.
them.
Exactly. Threat to their business.
Yes, threat to the business.
Okay, yes. So that is why that is won't happen.
Oh, wow.
We need to push hard and to continue doing what we're doing so
Yes.
we can reach this level.
Definitely. Well, Mohammed, thank you so much. I really enjoyed your presentation, and I look forward to seeing
Okay.
you more throughout the week.
You are welcome, Chris.
Okay,
See you.
thank you.